What's up, monsters? How are you? Today I gonna answer some comments in my last video. Thank you, brother, for sharing your knowledge and ask for more. So basically, I gonna talk about the fall apart distortion or the vocal break that Chris Liepe shows on his channel. Now, this is not a direct attack on Chris. He's simply sharing what he knows, but some of what he teaches can actually be a bit dangerous if you are just starting out. So what I want to do here is to add a complement to his knowledge. I'm not disagree with him. So what Chris Liepe teaches on his channel is basically you can find a scream when you play with this break in your voice. In other words, this despair voice. Oh my God! Ah! With too much effort. So in the first moment, it works, but in the long term, is a little bit complicated. And I'm gonna explain right now. So the problem with this accidental position, it is basically you put accidental position plus a lot of force. In other words, can cause you a potential vocal damage. So imagine that I'm here with my pinwheel. So I want to spin this thing. So basically I'm gonna blow air into it. But in the first moment I'm gonna blow the air in the edge of the thing. So you're gonna start to spin, but a little bit shitty. And it requires more air to spin better. So I throw more air. In other words, it's more mass of air passing by the spin wheel to start to spin correctly. But if I want to spin this thing better, I point to the center and blow the air into the center. So you're gonna notice this thing gonna spin smooth. With less effort. And that's the idea. This pinwheel is your structure that makes your voice do the distortions. Any of structure, even your false chords, even your vocal folds, false chords when we do the growls, vocal folds when we do the screams, la! Finding this position by accidentally is basically you are blowing at the edge. It's not an optimized position. Optimized position that I show here in this channel, we have many videos about it and have a course of mine that I can teach you more about vocal techniques. It's, for example, the cat song or controlled exercises. It is kind of, we are blowing at the center of the spin wheel. So optimizing distortion, more sound, less effort, and is more safe for your voice. So that's the idea. Be careful with things at the first point requires a lot of effort because you're not in an optimized position. You need to put your fan in the right spot to make things spin. In other words, distort more and better with less energy. So that's the idea of vocal techniques. Always go for the position first and then go for the support, for the pressure, for the effort. That's very important because if you make things spin very fast with less energy, imagine when you put a lot of pressure, you gonna become a monster with a smile face. I guarantee to you. So let's talk about the trigger that I used to say here. I'm gonna explain in details of what's going on with your body. So the first moment when I use the cat sound is basically I'm putting my vocal folds together to do this effect. So that's the idea basically. When I go for the cat sound here in the nose, imagine that you are a lazy cat. You see a lot of distortion with less energy, less effort. And then I'm gonna go for the yodeling thing. The yodeling thing is basically your vocal folds are get engaged and relax, get engaged and relax, get engaged and relax very fast. So that's the idea. So when we put these two positions together, basically you are putting your vocal folds in a state that it is closing together at the same time it is relaxing. So that's the movement that is happening. You see, I'm not pushing too much, I'm not screaming, I'm not doing with too much volume, with too much pressure. I just find out the position that it's very comfortable. In other words, I'm blowing at the center of the pinwheel. And then, if I play a little bit with more support with this, yeah! Ah! Yeah! You see my face? I'm not doing this, yeah! Ah! So that's the idea, basically. If you want to use your voice in a long period and long term, you need to optimize positions in your body. So that's the idea. Basically. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a video that I love to do because it is very important to make things clear here on the internet. And be careful with this fall apart positions that some guys are saying on the internet, because have some issues in there. So a good tip for you, always go for a good position with less energy. If you find out a lot of distortion with less energy, then if you put a little bit more support, you gonna become a monster. That's the idea of this channel. So if you like it, please subscribe and give me a like. And also I have a vocal course here if you want to know more about vocal distortions and more about how this machine works. And it's very funny. You're gonna like a lot. And I hope you enjoy this video. See you soon, buddy. See ya.